Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Roundtable Sports Network. And we have a special edition for you today. Now, we are going to be having our full Smackdown. The Washington Commanders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are set to play against each other this Sunday. Who is going to come out on top? We are going to find out here shortly as we end up welcoming in our hosts and the gladiators in the arena for this afternoon. Starting off with James Hill, Mr. Bucs Nation. How you doing, brother? Talk to me.
Doing good, man. I'm doing good. Dan, I think this is the first time me and you have ever been on stream together, by the way. So
Is that right?
I think so. So great moment for that. Happy to be here, man. Happy to be here. Obviously, we're all feeling good, right? All of our teams made the playoffs. So it's your Bills, my Bucks, Rio's Commanders. So it's a good time, man. Good time, but I'm ready to talk about some ball today, ready to dive into this upcoming game, man.
Man, I am looking forward to it. Rio, how you
Yes,
doing,
sir.
man? It's funny because I remember a few weeks ago when I was hosting the NFC East Roundtable, and I remember something specifically. You were just like, you know what, dude? If we make the playoffs, like, please give me this team and this team. I just don't want the Eagles. So
Yeah.
you must be feeling pretty confident about this, and you must be feeling a bit relieved. Is that right?
Honestly, also, this is a revenge game for us, and we have playoff history versus this team, man. 99, 2005. Our last playoff win came at Raymond James Stadium 19 years ago yesterday. So I'm turned up. I'm excited. First 12-win season of my fan life. I'm ready to talk about some playoff football, man.
Dude, I will tell you what, man, this right here was just a perfect example of exceeding expectations. Of course, with Jaden Daniels being an absolute stud. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, after everybody ended up counting them out this season, after missing a couple of key coaches, they once again are here victorious in the NFC South. And guys, here are the lines for the game already. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as minus 3-point favorites. Over under is set at 49.5. Obviously, this episode is powered by BetUS, the number one sports book on the face of the planet when it comes into everything and anything sports betting. Currently matching 150% of your first deposit all the way up to $2,000 and 125% of your second, your third, to the exact same figure. As long as you use code YouTube150, you can take advantage of this piping hot deal. But boys, all right, listen, I'm sure that there's probably a bit of anxiety with both of you, right? Because at the end of the day, with every single playoff game, there's always a little voice in the back of your head telling you, when is this all going to blow up? When is this going to be sent off to Cancun, metaphorically? So I kind of wanted to start off and just sort of get like a good pulse check on how you guys are just feeling, like walking into this. Confident, nervous? Like, let's hear it. Starting off with James. What you got?
So right now, Dan, I feel confident, I think, walking into this matchup here in the wild card round. Now, I know the easy answer that some people may point to is exactly what Rio mentioned. Like, hey, the Bucs beat the Commanders this year, right? Now, that was obviously in week one. These are two vastly different teams, right, than what they were in week one. But the Bucs still have a lot of momentum on their side, as do the Commanders as well. But this is the fourth straight year the Bucs have won their division. The fifth straight year they've made it to the playoffs. Baker Mayfield had a career year, literally. And they've been cooking, man. They've been cooking. And now you kind of see the defense getting a little bit healthier. They're kind of coming around to things. They're kind of getting healthy at the right time. They're peaking at the right time. And, much like to what Rio was saying, there was a couple of teams in this wild card scenarios that I didn't want to see the Bucs play. The Lions, the Vikings were in there, right? Those were kind of, if the Bucs would have been the 4 seed, they would have had to play one of those teams. But I think the Bucs do match up well against the Commanders going into this game, just whenever, and we'll dive into it whenever you look at how some of these matchups are in terms of the Bucs offense versus that Commanders defense, and in some ways a little bit vice versa. So yeah, man, I feel good about this game. Obviously, I think it's going to be a good and competitive game, but I feel good. I'll just say
All right. And so what about you, Rio? It's first playoff experience, you said, in 12 years, right?
Well, in 4 years, but like it's been a minute since we've won double-digit games. We haven't won 10 plus since 2012. This is our first time winning 11 games plus since 91. I was born in 91. So I'm very excited to be here. But we're not just happy to be here and just to punch our ticket to the dance. We're coming to spoil the party. We're coming to crash the party, guys, because we can beat this football team. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a very good football team. They've won their division 4 years in a row, playoffs for the last 5 years. Baker could not have found a more perfect situation to moonwalk into than being the successor to Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. That's a ready-made team. We saw them week 1. It was our lab rats experimental version of what this team was coming into year 1 of a startup, a bunch of new players, rookie quarterback who clearly had rookie jitters week 1 when we went up to Tampa Bay. There's not going to be Emmanuel Forbes and Benjamin St. Juste starting on the outside at cornerback. So for one, that's going to be a relief. Baker Mayfield went nuts on us week 1. We were pressuring him all day and couldn't get our hands on him. He was operating like Superman in a phone booth. He was very slippery. We had a chance to sack the guy 5 or 6 times and just could not. And he was making plays extend into third down. Godwin's not playing us this time because he's injured, but Jalen McMillan is a dog. I believe he scored in like 5 games in a row, had 8 touchdowns in his rookie season. Bucky Irvin is exactly who I thought he was going to be in the league. I wanted him in Washington. He's a dog. I know how good this team is. I respect my opponent, but there's magic in this Jaden Daniels guy, man. There's magic in the way that we win games. It prepares you to play in playoff games where most likely you're going to be in a close ball game. We call them the cardiac commanders. Every game raises your blood pressure. You need an EKG machine hooked up to you because we walk off win. Like our last 4 wins have all been pretty much walk-off victories. Versus the Saints, it was coming down to whether Rattler converts a 2-point conversion. Versus the Falcons, overtime walk-off victory. Versus the Eagles, walk-off touchdown with 2 seconds left on the clock, and Terry McLaurin on our final play of the season clinches our 12th win of the season and the franchise record for touchdown receptions versus the Cowboys. So expect fireworks. They put this game on the Sunday night slot for a reason because we are the entertainment of the weekend. We are the pièce de résistance. Bucs versus Commanders is the game people are going to be looking out for. Highest over-under of the weekend. Let's see some fireworks and hopefully not too much cannons being shot on Sunday night.
Damn, a shootout between Baker and Jaden Daniels is what I'm kind of getting right now. That's the energy
television.
I'm feeling. That's the energy that I'm feeling thus far. So, James, I'm sure that you've already started unpacking everything that the Commanders have had to offer so far in 2024. If you were offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, head coach, like what are some mismatches that you are eager to exploit? Like what do the Bucs need to pick on from either the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball that they need to execute perfectly? Like what are you salivating over as far as mismatches are concerned?
Yeah, well, I mean, firstly, looking at the Commanders, right? Like offensively, it's going to be a tough game, right? The Commanders, they've been great this year. I mean, they're scoring 28.5 points per game. That's 5th in the NFL. Jaden Daniels, Pro Bowler in his first year. One mismatch that we can talk about is the inexperience, the playoff inexperience of Jaden Daniels. Rio put it best here at the beginning. Like, this is a team that's kind of in the first year of this journey, this odyssey that they're taking here into this new era, right? That's one way you can kind of exploit that is to get after the young rookie quarterback in a playoff setting, make him uncomfortable, force him to make some mistakes under the brightest of lights, right? In terms of defensive stuff and also try and contain him. The dude can run like nobody's business, and that's not going to be an easy thing. But I think that defensively, that's going to be a big key there is rattling the young quarterback. Now, whenever I think about offensively, look, the Commanders actually really put it together and actually showed up, in terms of their secondary. They actually had the 3rd best passing defense this year in terms of their secondary. However, where they did falter a little bit was the rushing defense. They had the 3rd worst rushing defense in the league. Rio mentioned Bucky Irving. I think Bucky Irving can eat in this game. I mean, he had 1,000 yards. In this matchup, the dude's been an absolute beast at making the first, even like 3 defenders miss and just getting extra yards. He has the 3rd most rushing yards by a Buccaneers rookie running back in team history. I believe he was 10th this year in rushing yards. And to even add to it, the Bucs had the best rushing offense in team history this year, right? They've not had a better rushing offense in team history. So if I was Liam Cohen, man, I'd be dialing up that running attack. And we've even seen Baker Mayfield scramble a little bit more. Rio's got a good point too, where Mayfield's elusive in the pocket, man. I mean, his pocket awareness has been really solid this year. The Bucs are definitely going to need a lot of that, but I think a big key to victory here offensively, you got to trust your running backs, man. You got to trust this team history-making rushing attack this year. I'm talking about Buck Irving. I'm talking about Rashad White. Get those guys running and try and control this game as much as you can.
Now, Rio, just based off of what you just heard from James, so was there anything there that you disagreed with? That's something the Washington Commanders have been as of recently improving on, or was he pretty much spot on as far as like some of those weaknesses you just pointed out?
Oh, we can't stop the run to save our life, especially early on in games, especially versus really good running backs. They kill us early and we start to adjust when we start to sell out for the run a little bit. But we get gashed on the ground. It almost it feels like at times we give up 6 or 7 a pop. So they should definitely be starting their game plan off by trying to run on us. We just got Jonathan Allen back a couple weeks ago. I know to fans outside of here, Jonathan Allen and Payne, that sounds like such a menacing on paper duo. It hasn't been as productive and they haven't been as good as people think from outside of the building while they're swallowing up about $47 million of cap combined a year. We don't stop the run and we don't get much pressure from the inside. So it's going to be huge. It's a huge game for our Alabama wall up front, our second round pick, Johnny Newton. We need to get some pressure from the inside. You know, Deron Payne actually had a really good game versus the Bucs last time as far as pressures in advanced analytics go, but he couldn't get his hands on Baker. Or, well, he could get his hands on him, but they were sliding right off him, you know. Had a little Johnsons and Johnsons on his uniform or something. But we got to learn how to stop the run. The matchup everybody wants to see, WWE style. You might as well let them fight before the game starts just to get it out the way. Marshawn Lattimore's playing on Sunday. Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Evans have a long-standing beef. They're like Peter Griffin when he sees the big chicken. They're going to fight every time they get on the football field. And Marshawn has won a good majority of those battles between those guys, but he's on a shaky hamstring since the Eagles game when he was running around with A.J. Brown all afternoon and shadowing him. There's going to be a big difference between having Benjamin St-Juste and Forbes week 1. Like, Forbes was the first person I've ever seen get 2 infractions in one play. Like, he face masked and interfered with Jalen McMillan on one play. It was him, McMillan or Mike Evans week 1. We don't have to deal with that anymore. It's Marshawn Lattimore, it's Mikey Sain-Ristil, and Noah Igbenogany in the slot. So I think defending the pass with Baker, he giveth, but he will taketh away. 41 touchdowns this year, but he's also leads the league in interceptions. Him and Kirk Cousins lead the league with 16 interceptions thrown. We are a no turnover forcing ass defense, but we get opportunities. We drop picks. We don't recover fumbles. This is a week you cannot forgive that type of thing because week 1, we had a chance to get an interception early on in that game. Benjamin St-Juste dropped one that he could have possibly taken either to the crib or to the red zone at least. And Tampa ended up scoring on that drive. We got to win those type of momentum mood swings on Sunday. Offensively speaking, we have to get our screen game back. You know, they used to call Cliff Kingsbury Screensbury, but our screen game hasn't been effective for a couple months now. Austin Eckler's back. He's the only back we can successfully throw screens to because that's not Brian Robinson's game at all. These are 2 of the highest blitz rate defenses. Todd Bowles, tread lightly when you send that blitz at Jaden Daniels, because this is not first start of his career, Jaden Daniels, you're going to see this time. This is a top 2 quarterback in the league versus the blitz this year. 12 touchdowns to 1 interceptions, almost 1,400 yards, and a 90 QBR versus the blitz this season. Jaden's legs are going to be the X factor in this game. I am not going to expect us to be effective running the ball out of the backfield. It's going to be Jaden extending plays, screen passes, dump off passes, and Tampa struggles against tight ends. Zach Ertz is 100 years old, but he just gave us a 60 catch, 650 yard, 7 touchdown season. So expect to see a lot of Zach Ertz, and somebody's got to guard Terry McLaurin. Somebody's got to guard him. We had our opportunities. We didn't hit on them week 1. I think next time they strike up that deep ball versus Tampa, there's going to be a connection this time.
Damn, man. Listen, y'all are pumping me up for this Sunday night matchup. You have no idea. Now, folks, everybody that is watching, we currently have a poll in the chat. So do me a favor and go on ahead and tell us who you are currently representing. Right now, we have the Commanders winning right in the poll as far as representation. And don't be shy. Introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know who you are representing and some of your hot takes of this game coming up on Sunday night, because somebody's going home. Somebody's going over to the divisional. Something to snack on there for a second. Now, Rio, so we heard James sort of discuss some of the things that he is looking for the Buccaneers to exploit from the Washington Commanders. Turning it from the Washington Commanders side of things, what are some matchups that you would like to see exploited from the Denver Broncos defense, offense, etc.? Like, what do you think Dan Quinn is currently making up in the lab as we speak?
Okay, so I'm guessing you mean the Bucs and not the Denver Bronco. I know you got your Bills hat on.
Sorry
You're
about
ready
that.
for
Broncos
your
yeah,
hey.
Broncos in the brain, man. But
Hey,
yeah, so the Bucs.
yep.
Talk to
y'all go ahead and take care of Nixie and them on Sunday. But I mean, is Antoine Winfield playing on Sunday?
Not sure yet.
Okay, because that's something you want to take. That's possibly the best player on the Bucs defense. Well, Vita Vea up front is an absolute dog, but Antoine Winfield missing the game, that's an elite safety right there. That is an elite safety, and I would like to try to go vertical on these guys. You know, I'm wondering if they're going to rely on 4-man pressures versus sending the blitz, because this kid is good at identifying blitzes, and he will kill you if you send that blitz and he escapes. Like, ask the Philadelphia Eagles, because they were sending the kitchen sink at Jaden a couple weeks ago. And when he gets out, when he breaks contain, when you send the blitz, it could be a nightmare for those guys. But if Antoine Winfield's not on the field, somebody has to beat these guys vertical. Like, this feels like a put Jaden in the shotgun, line up some screens, dumps, and put us in 4 verts, send guys vertical type day. Like, this is going to be an air it out. I think we're going to put the cape on Jaden on Sunday, and we're going to showcase him to the world, because our run game has been less than ineffective. Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler just getting back, Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez. We've been getting stuffed for weeks. Our running game for the last month of the season was, please save us, Jaden Daniels. Please save us. He had to run for 130 versus the Atlanta Falcons a couple weeks ago, 80 versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Marcus Mariota, even when he came in on Sunday versus the Cowboys, he had to run for 60 yards because our starting running back only had 10 yards on Sunday. So we got to hit them deep. We got to stretch these guys vertical. And there were shots we left on the field. The first play of the second half, when we played the Bucs in week 1, we dialed up a go ball to Terry McLaurin. He beat the hell out of the defender, but Jaden put it about a yard ahead of him. They hadn't had that synergy and that cohesion yet. So I want to try these guys deep. On the defensive side of the ball, like I was just mentioning, we have to force turnover. We have to force turnover. Baker will put that ball in harm's way. He is the ultimate gunslinger. He'll hit you with 5 touchdowns, but he's also capable of throwing 2 or 3 picks in a game, because he takes chances. He doesn't think twice about a mistake. Once he makes it the first time, he's going to go right back at you. Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans. That is what we gotta neutralize Mike Evans on Sunday, because we struggle versus big name receivers. We haven't seen the team really play with Marshawn Lattimore, so we don't know exactly what the defense can be with him on the field. But other than that, I need our linebackers to have a day. Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner, I need them to show up on Sunday, because if they get their run game going for us, it's going to be a long day for us Sunday night.
So does anything about that, James, concern you? So did anything like sort of like have that resonation with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing to obviously look for is if Lattimore is healthy. You know, we mentioned is Winfield healthy? Similar things can be said with Lattimore, right? But if Lattimore is healthy, um, he knows Mike Evans better than anybody, man. I mean, and those two have gone to absolute war, years and years and years, you know, now, in their careers. So that is something to keep an eye out for as well. I do agree that, like, Baker can have a bit of a penchant for a turnover here or there. But there's also times where it's like, man, when he's dialed in, he is dialed in, right? So that's going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye out for, right? And I agree with that 100% in terms of defensively forcing turnovers is going to be huge for the getting takeaways is going to be huge for that Washington Commanders defense. And look, I agree with Rio here. Like, offensively, look, you've got to contain Jaden Daniels. I mean, he's the second best running quarterback in the league right now, in my opinion. So behind Lamar. So I mean, like, yeah, he's the key to their offense, right? In terms of McLaurin having success, the hope is that Zion McCollum will be on Terry McLaurin. I mean, Zion McCollum's had a pretty good year this year. I believe he was third in passes defended this year. He was the Bucs' best cornerback this year. But, I mean, honestly, I would even consider maybe doubling up in a lot of opportunities on McLaurin just because he's that much of a weapon. Zach Ertz as well. I mean, you look at Levante, he's 33, 34 now. He's certainly getting up there. He's going to have a big responsibility. It's going to be one old man versus another old man, basically, in terms of that. So, but no, I agree. With Rio here in terms of the success that the Commanders can have on offense, I think a lot of it's going to rely on Jaden, right? But I would also push back a bit and say, like, hey man, that's a lot to ask on a rookie quarterback, in the playoffs, right? Like, in his first year, first ever playoff game. That's going to be a big ask, right? And that's kind of why I talked about it earlier, where you got to mention, like, hey, this is like what you said, Rio. Like, this is a year where it's like, hey man, like, I would say that they've very much exceeded expectations this year to 12 wins. And how much magic do they have left, is kind of the question, right? Can they make a run here, or is it kind of time to say, like, hey man, great year, we've got so much to build off of here, but we're not fully ready for the playoff stage and winning full-on playoff games yet. It's an interesting question there, and I think a lot of it's going to rely on Daniels and how ready he is, right?
Yeah, but I think the guy's built for it, though. We're gonna see on Sunday, but this guy, there's magic in this guy, and he has his composure. Like, the thing I like the most about him, he carries himself like a veteran. Like, he's so calm, he's so composed, and like it's almost at time like the guys around him can't believe how calm he is. He has the same mannerisms when we're up 20 or if we're down 20, even though we haven't been down 20 too much this year. It never feels like we're out of it until the final whistle. I'm excited to see this one, man.
Oh man. And so then what Bay says, this is the one game that Lattimore will make sure he is healthy for. And just because he wants to throw hands, what's the over-under of how many punches are thrown right between that combo on Sunday? Go straight at Lattimore to see how ready he is. Bucs bully run game will win this game. Damn, Baker Mayfield is a straight legend. Know it now. He will be the best of all. Wow. Okay. Hey, man, listen, I love the confidence here from all the fan bases around here, man. This is absolutely nuts. All right. So give me your hot takes of the game, because like I feel like most of America is agreeing that this is likely going to be a high scoring matchup based off of the over under that we saw earlier on today's episode. But give me a hot take, something that you think is going to occur on Sunday that not many people would have guessed. I'm starting off with James on this one.
Okay. That's a good question. I'm going to say the Bucs are going to rush for, oh God, I'm going to say 200 yards.
I knew it was going to say 200. I knew it was going to say
200. Damn.
I'm going to say they're going to rush for 200 yards in this game. We mentioned the lack of a rushing defense from Washington. I think Bucky's going to eat. I think the Baker's going to have some scrambles in there as well. And I think we're also going to see some sprinklings of Rashad White. So I'm going to say 200 rushing yards is what the Bucs are going to get.
Some 200 rushing yards. That is James's hot take of the game on Sunday night. Rio, hot take, man. Talk to us.
I guess a hot take is going to have to come from the defensive side of the ball, because offensively, like, there's not too much that's going to surprise me. But defensively, no. Let's go back to the offensive side of the ball. Zach Ertz 2 touchdowns on Sunday night versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, they have a really good connection. There have been times where Zach Ertz made me want to pull out my hair this year. the Bucs give up. The Bucs don't do well versus tight end. Like he said, it's the AARP Bowl with him and Levante David. I got Zach Ertz winning that matchup. Zach Ertz scores twice, and he scores the game-winning touchdown on Sunday.
Zach Ertz comes out in the clutch. So I think it's pretty obvious that both of these guys are picking their team to win on Sunday night. But now I think it's time just to wrap up this show with a final score prediction, final takes, final thoughts, and messages to their own fan base. I'm starting off with James here. James, final score prediction, final takes, and message to all the Bucs fans that are joining us today.
Well, first off, thanks everybody for being here, right? Be it supporting me, Rio, Dan, whoever it may be. You know, if you guys are new, go ahead and subscribe. You know, Roundtable Sports, obviously we're on the road here to 20K subscribers. So keep on staying tuned, not just for me and Rio and Dan, but for every other team in the NFL. We got it all covered here at Roundtable Sports. You know, for the Bucs, hey man, you know, it's been a good year. You know, we'll see what happens in this playoff games. Feel good going in. Also feel good about just the stretch the Bucs have been on, right? I mean, 4 straight divisional titles, 5 straight playoff appearances. This is, I mean, literally unprecedented in terms of the era of Bucs football. So feel good about that. To Dan's point, I do have the Bucs winning this game. I'm going to say it's going to be a shootout, man. I'm going to say 31-28. I think it's going to be a close matchup. I think both offenses are absolutely electric. Literally 2 of the top 5 scoring offenses in the league with both kind of middling defenses, all things considered. So I think it's going to be one heck of a matchup between 2 teams that honestly have bright futures ahead of them. I think the Bucs are in good hands with Baker Mayfield going forward. I think the Commanders are in good hands with Jaden Daniels going forward. And both have got very good OCs as well. It might be poached for head coaching jobs and Liam Cohen and Cliff Kingsbury. So there's a lot to like about both football teams. To Rio's point, also a lot of history here. Rio said the last time they won a playoff game was 19 years ago.
No, yep, 2005, man.
Yeah, so not just that, but the last time the Commanders made the playoffs was in 2020, the year the Bucs won the Super Bowl. The Bucs knocked them out in round 1 as well. So there's a lot of history between these 2 teams, man. Should be a lot of fun. Stay tuned for this one, man, because I think there's going to be some good fireworks, and I think it'll be a fun one.
Love to hear it. And so, all right, Rio, what about you? Final score prediction, final takes. Go ahead.
It's going to be a good one. I think this is going to be the game of the weekend. You know, the game of the weekend. You know, the Monday night game may do what it needs to do, but of the weekend, this is going to be the fun one. I think both teams are going to start it off like we're going to see the greatest, like, shootout ever. They're going to walk us down and score. We're going to walk down and score 7-7. And then defenses are going to settle in a bit. I got 27-24 Washington Commanders. I got us down 24-20 in the final minutes of the 4th quarter. And Jaden Daniels adding to his rookie legacy and taking us down for a game-winning drive and a game-winning touchdown again to Zach Ertz to win the game. I think it's going to be just one of those back and forth games where both teams may commit a boneheaded turnover late in the game, and the last team with the ball is going to be the one who wins the game. And I think it's going to be us. I think Jaden's going to play a really good game. He may turn the ball over once in the game. Baker may turn the ball over once in the game. Bucky Irvin will probably have close to 100 yards. I'm not going to lie. We pretty much give that up to anyone. But I think Washington finds a way. We're built to win close games. Like, I hate the way they do this to me every week because it's bad for my health and they're shaving years off my life. But it tells me if we ever get in a situation where it's do or die, score or go home, and your season's over, I think we will be prepared to do so. Give me 27-24 Washington Commanders, 3 Jaden Daniels touchdowns, 2 field goals. We're on to the divisional round, baby. Let's go.
That is a bold statement from both of our creators over here. We're just going to have to wait and see what time tells us. Now, guys, as James alluded to a bit earlier, I just want to shout out both of these gentlemen. They are representatives over on Roundtable Sports. James, obviously, a part of the NFC South Roundtable, and Rio, a part of the NFC East Roundtable. If you love watching divisional rivals rip each other's throats out on a weekly basis, I highly recommend that you go check out that. We do run a weekly show over there. Probably going to sprinkle in some off-season stuff here and there, and then next season, obviously, with each and every single weekly edition. I also encourage that you go on ahead and subscribe to both of their individual YouTube channels. I don't care if you're a Bucs fan watching this, definitely go subscribe to Rio. Same thing for all Commanders fans. Certainly go subscribe to James, because think of how funny and fun it will be to troll them if your team ultimately ends up beating them at the end of the day. So do y'all do live game reactions or no?
Oh, hell yeah.
I do as well. Yep.
All right, perfect. Well, folks, there you go. You have a punching bag to go and gloat if your favorite team defeats one of these representatives after the fact. So do not miss out on that opportunity. Gents, thank you so much for joining us today on an edition of Roundtable Sports Smackdown. Folks, one of these guys will be back next week. We're just going to have to wait and see who. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this. And ladies and gents, we will see you soon. Bye.
Let's get it on.